90% of agents don't follow up a third time. And we know that conversion happens between follow-ups 5 and 12. So it's getting back to the foundations, like back to our calendars. Are you action blocking? Are you actually showing up? Do you live by your calendar? Because, show me your calendar and I'll show you your paycheck. What activities are you doing every day? Have you fallen off of the discipline that we didn't really need the last 3 years, but it's mission critical today?
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm here to interview Jennifer Wehner from the Wehner Group from Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm really excited to hear about her volume and her business and how she's been running a top team. Jennifer, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here too. We got to talk a little bit offline that you listened to some old episodes of our podcast before. How long have you been listening to our podcast?
Oh my gosh. Probably like 4 years, because that's when I really became a podcast junkie, or going on 5.
4 years going on 5. That's great. I love getting to interview listeners when we finally get on here. When did you get into real estate?
It was 2003. So the end of 2003. So really 2004 was my first year.
And where was that?
So I was finishing up school in Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach, and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just knew that. And then we had friends that were flipping homes there, and I kind of did the math, and both of my the mortgages added up together was less than my rent in Huntington Beach. So I'm like, why not just get my license and invest and be an agent? And didn't really have a focus plan and not like a team growth plan, but grew my business as an investor and then as an agent and then a team leader.
So the 2003, 2004 in California, housing market's going pretty good. How long did you stay? Now you live in Scottsdale, but how long did you stay out in California?
Oh, I grew up in Riverside, California, and I got out of there when I was 18 to the beach. And, then in 2003, we moved here and I have never been back. So I go back to visit my family, but I don't miss all the traffic and taxes and, but I love the beach.
Got it. All right. So you started in real estate out in Arizona. And then what was the first few years as an agent like for you?
Well, they were great. I thought I was Donald Trump. I was like building luxury homes. I was working with a lot of investors, buying multifamily. And then 2007 kind of was like the quiet year. And then 2008, it dropped, short sale. And 70% of our market was distressed here in Phoenix. So we were one of the biggest culprits. So we definitely had to pivot fast. And, the market's changed a lot since then. And it's changing in a way I've never seen it change before, like the industry itself, not just the market, but the industry. And we're having to evolve and leverage better on virtual assistants and technology and systems for everything, and just being a master of like human resources. So it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. 2008, like the Phoenix, there was like 75% price drops. I mean, there's the quiet year of everybody. The quiet year, kind of like the last back in 2008, feels a lot like the last 6 months. Where like some stuff is still happening, but it's pretty quiet in Texas. I think it's pretty quiet in the Phoenix area. I think you guys are up to like 10 or 11 months of inventory right now.
It's not that bad. It's actually our supply is terrible. And we it was like June of last year when it was just like the apocalypse. And we have seen about 45% less sales year over year, but we're still getting 5,000-6,000 sales. But the problem, and it's not just for us, it's for nationwide, is just the inventory. We are seeing inventory drop, and we're also seeing demand pick up. And out of 17 major cities, there's only 5 that are buyers markets. The rest are either balanced or sellers market. So it's crazy because it's changing, and it's changing fast. And you're just having to stay on top of these trends, like almost literally daily.
Yeah, it is changing fast. I'm going to see if I can pull up some of the Phoenix stats as we're going, as I like to look at the different charts that are out there. So so you pivoted back in '08. So you went from so you had a lot of stuff that you were investing in that was doing really, really good. And then, the market started slowing down and everything became distressed. So what did you do to pivot during that time?
So I really had the bright idea of getting into network marketing. Now, I never quit real estate, so I was always doing real estate. I learned a lot actually, but definitely not for me. I got into commercial real estate. That was not so I did get into short sale and REO, and I did fairly well. Now, if I would have gotten in a year sooner, I would have done that much better. But a lot of our short sale clients that we were able to help, grew into buyers and sellers and referrals. And then when the market pivoted back in 2011, I was already getting out on video and SEO and Google and kind of being found online. And then, investor found me. I think we flipped 50 homes that year and started using our listings to grow more buyer business, and really started the team in 2014. That's when I intentionally said I'm going to start a real estate team and hired my first buyer's agent, who I still have today. So it's really been out of the last 2 years, I've been out of production. So the last 2 years, I've been strictly team leader, have a title company, have an insurance company, have revenue share. So at different buckets of income.
Yeah. And it sounds like when it really took off for you, so you were in the grind of real estate for 10 years. So you're working and you're putting it out there and you're doing the social media and you're doing the things. It sounds like you found an investor or investment company that they were able to now bring you kind of guaranteed listings. Let's say if you did a good job, you're going to keep getting them. You got 50 listings through that and decided, okay, now you're going to but everyone's calling you and saying, hey, can you show me this one? Or can you show me another one? You're like, no, I'm just a listing agent. So then you decided to grow a team, hire people to be, I guess, your sign leads or your buyer's agent, take those leads and get to start growing that. So that was about the jumping off point? Once you realized you had a niche and then more leads were coming in, you decided to bring on some more team members?
Yeah, I mean, it was never my intention to trade time for money for the rest of my life, because I'm like a morbid person. I think about my funeral and what I want people to say when I'm there. And I'm like, I don't want to just be, helping. I love helping buyers and sellers, but it's been a lot more gratifying growing, building, helping other agents build their careers. And I just never want to do the same thing forever. It's I love to be in that building, that growth, that, pouring back. I'm blessed to be at a part in the industry where I'm able to give back to agents. But I mean, I will say I loved production. I loved going after the listings, especially. I love flipping homes. I still love flipping homes. So, I always have a passion for, real estate and beauty. Yeah.
So let's talk about your team, 2021 to beginning of 2022. What was it looking like? Where are they getting their leads from? What was their volume like? Was it, how much is Sphere? How much was buyer leads, seller leads? Just tell me about the whole business plan during that time. How was everybody doing it? What was the thing that was working?
Yeah, so I run my business off traction. So I have a leadership team, run, sales, marketing, finance. But I will say, having to build the leadership team, I pretty much demolished my leadership team March of this year and rebuilt it. And I could not have done last year what I did without the leadership team I have today. So 2021 was still in that building of the right core values, portraying to the leadership team on out to the agents. Now, we still had a good year, but it was last year. I'm a lot more proud and confident to where we are at year over year from 2021 to the end of 2022. And I will say that mainly it's because the market got bad. And when the market deteriorated fast, we had to inspect what we expected. We couldn't just have crazy expenses on our P&L that we didn't attend to. We had to make max efficiency and optimize our business in every single way, from marketing to coaching to training to finances. And so that's made me a better team leader, a better business owner than I was when it was just good. In 2020, we all had a little bit of egos that year, because, it's oh, netted $1 million off my team. Great. It's amazing. But 2021, it's some of that ego started to show up in mistakes that we were making, as we were building the team.
Yeah. So right now, a lot of agents are out there trying to figure out what to do. Right. I talked to an agent yesterday that in November, he sold 20 houses, and right now he has one house in escrow. Right. So he was doing 20 a month, and now he is doing one a month. And Scottsdale is kind of a market leader where you start to see trends before other places, right? Like Sacramento, Scottsdale, they've been like trend leaders where if something happens here, it won't happen in Idaho until like 6 months after California, and Oregon doesn't happen until 6 months after California. But you're seeing some of the stuff quicker out there. So what advice would you give, or have you guys seen this yet? What advice would you give to somebody like that says, hey, we've been doing our plan, but now we're going from 20 to 1. Have you guys experienced that over the past 6 months? And then what pivots or recommendations are you giving to people on how to survive or thrive during this?
Well, I don't care if you've been in the business 1 year, 2 years, or 20 years. We're all new agents. We're all new team leaders in this industry. And we got lazy. Like, I don't care, everybody. Most people like fell off of the foundations of business. Because I feel like right now, with how we're pivoting our team to prospecting for 2 hours a day, follow up for another hours a day, hitting the phone, don't hide behind email, don't hide behind text messages. My AI can outperform you. And 90% of agents don't follow up a third time. And we know that conversion happens between follow-ups 5 and 12. So it's getting back to the foundations, like back to our calendars. Are you action blocking? Are you actually showing up? Do you live by your calendar? Because, show me your calendar and I'll show you your paycheck. What activities are you doing every day? Have you fallen off of the discipline that we didn't really need the last 3 years, but it's mission critical today? And having that discipline and then having a plan, your plan for growth. And we just run off of a 1-3-5 business plan. There's VTO and traction. Very simple. We run our years every quarter. So every quarter is like we have quarterly goals. And of course we have the annual. But we know what our big rocks and the most important things to focus on a quarterly basis. So,
hey, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Abuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. What's your favorite CRM?
We're using Follow Up Boss.
We use Follow Up Boss.
So we use Follow Up Boss.
I love Follow Up Boss. I love it. We have action plans now for bringing on new agents. We have action plans for our recruiting.
We call them action plans in Follow Up Boss, which will trigger tasks for the agents to do as far as calling. Follow Up Boss I like more for the integrations with everything, MailChimp, Call Action, all those different products.
I will say we used Sync and we switched from Sync to Follow Up Boss.
Honestly, the greatest CRM I've ever used. I've used Brivity, Sync. I've looked at Boomtown, like Real Geeks, just a bunch of different ones. But me personally, I fell in love with Fub about like 7 months ago when I first started using it.
I've used Boomtown. I've used LineDesk. I've used Conversion. And I think Follow Up Boss gives you the most integrations that are simple, and it gives you the best ability to go and integrate large things into one single solitary platform. Yet at the same time, it's still affordable.
I do like Follow Up Boss better just because you can text from the app and things like that. It's just a little more convenient for me.
It tracks everything that I need. I can customize it if I want. If I want to go smart list based, that's fine. If I want to go task based, it's fine.
I think it's one of the best systems, and it's very user friendly.
It just really helps me never drop a ball because it's so user friendly.
I don't have a one horse in the race with Follow Up Boss. Purely objective, Follow Up Boss has been the best one that we've found.
Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial, and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. Thanks again. Now back to our show.
Sorry,
So I like the way that you broke that up. So you're telling your agents now, like, here's the time blocking. You're going to do 2 hours a day of prospecting. and then you're going to do an hour a day of follow up, and you got to make sure that you don't give up after 3. Like it's the follow up, and keep going. And agents were so busy a year ago, right? You knew that people were going to call you. Like you didn't have to really follow up with people because, and sometimes you didn't want them to because you're like, all right, they're not going to write a strong enough offer. So who knows, right? That's just there was a lot of pros and cons to the market we saw a year ago.
It's
so
like
when you're telling
handlers, what are those? What are objections?
Yeah, right.
Wow,
like practicing the coaching.
I'll do it 100 grand over. Oh yeah, I'll list my house. Oh great, I have 20 offers. It just got easy. There was no objection handlers.
Yeah, there was no objections. Everything just worked. Everything just sold for more, and the buyers were happy, the sellers were happy. So, what sort of prospecting are you guys doing? So, when we tell them to go do prospecting, what's the advice you give them? What are like the scripts or the things that listeners right now could go try in their market?
Well, every agent's going to have their different pillars of business. So we have about 45% of our business is Zillow. And a lot of those are Zillow nurtures. And a lot of those, and we have a database right now of about 70,000. And those are past clients. Those are open house clients. Those are Zillow nurtures or Google pay-per-click nurtures. We have a lot of different pillars of business, but mainly at Zillow, it's a lot of Sphere. We do a lot of Sphere working for referrals off our past clients in Sphere. And then we do a lot of still open house lead generation. And then we do have a segment that is like our inside sales department with expired for sale by owners for listing leads.
Yeah.
So if you're targeted, so you're just going to target most of the time when agents like that, like have done business come to me and I'm like, okay, where do we start? Like, I want to get this lead source, a social, I want to run some Google pay-per-click ads. I want to do this, but I'm like, where are how many people are in your database? Okay. What are you doing for them now to follow up with them? And like some agents I met this morning, they had 1,500 people in their database that are past clients, Sphere, referral partners. And I'm like, out of that 1,500, if you have about a 10% turnover, which is pretty, if you're working your database right, you should be able to get, you'd have 150 sales a year. And so as they're growing their team, I'm like, you don't need all these new lead sources. I was like, you have enough here for 150 deals to grow your team. So really start where you have like the most warmest leads and making sure you're just loving on them. You're following up with them. You have your pipeline, your top 10. You always know like that pipeline always needs to be filled no matter how busy you get.
It's great. So you've got 70,000 leads and you've collected them for a long time since 2004, right? And so you're taking the Zillow leads, and regardless of where it goes, whether they become a buyer or not, because sometimes people don't like those leads, those incoming leads, because they're like, well, they're not serious yet. But being able to put them in as a slow nurture of somebody, 2 years, some Zillow leads are great, some aren't. I just know, but like, I think a lot of those get thrown away. Like the lead gets tossed out, but you're saying you don't let any contact get tossed out. They become part of your nurture. What CRM do you use?
We use Follow Up Boss.
Cool. So you got Follow Up Boss. And then what do you like about that CRM?
I love the integration. So I love when tech communicates with each other. So we have an open to close for a transaction management system, which integrates into Follow Up Boss. So we don't have to manually add all these details. It integrates with Zillow. So when we do an update there, it updates Zillow. So we're not having to do double the work, and we don't want to use 50 systems. So if we have like 5 solid systems for both our operations and sales team, that's like, perfect. So we're as efficient as possible.
Cool. So the advice you're giving people right now is whatever you have with the database you have right now, start working that database, because you should be able to get 10% of that database buying a house, each year as they're rolling through. So find that database, start using a system, start doing that follow up. What do you think if somebody hasn't really done it yet, right? Like what are like a couple of the first few follow-ups they can be doing? Like, so some people are like, yes, I've got 1,000 people in my database. All right, I'm going to go put it in a CRM. How do I start this conversation? Do you have any ideas of like some emails or some texts or things like that are just simple content to deliver out there?
I've always been a fan of the client party. We've been doing it forever. But it's incredibly when you use your vendor, so your lender, your title, you have it at a restaurant, a Top Golf, and they all chip in. We like the movie theaters just because people don't have to know each other. But those events usually cost us between $500 and $1,000 total for 300 people. But the magic is in the invite. So first of all, I like, something, a tagline like, hey, blast from the past. Yeah, it's Jen. A lot of times they do remember you. And, you don't even have to apologize. Sometimes we fall out of, but having to invite them like, hey, I really wanted to give back to our clients. We're going to do a big event. We're going to have a charity there. We always have a charity there. But I'd love to see you, and then, you can get into some forward questions, but it's, who doesn't like to get invited to a party? And when you're doing that, it's not like you're asking something of them when you haven't been in touch. And it's just a warm way to get them back, in your database, in your pipeline, in a normal cadence of follow-up.
Yeah, I like that. So cool. And then, so you've talked about like following up but also the outbound prospecting. So the outbound prospecting of calling for sale by owners that are expired right now or expired listings right now. And there's a lot more of those, right? There's a lot more of those that aren't, for sale by owners were selling a year ago. Like they were like, why do I need an agent? I'm getting offers anyway. But what script are you doing to for sale by owners right now when you have your people do outbound calling, or do expireds?
We're not really, I would say, hitting the FSBOs. We have our inside sales department that called, but I would say like one of the things that our agents are doing to get listings today, when we talked about that database, is a real estate review. And this comes out of the book, Ninja Selling. And it's really, you're calling all your past database to, hey, how, get into Ford, how's family? Once a year, I provide a service to all my clients and we review all your real estate holdings. So what the current market value would be, what the refinance rate would be, what your home would rent for short-term or long-term, just so that you have a good understanding of your real estate wealth, and if you're able to get into people's living rooms, it's like a 56% conversion rate to some sort of business, whether it be a referral, they buy an investment property, they sell and buy. But it's also just a great professional service. So when you're an agent, that's, your unique selling proposition isn't that I just do one sale and buy, but you're creating that like value proposition of what it's like to be a long-term client of mine. And so that's one thing I would say to get listings right away. Now, as far as expireds, I really did grow my business from expireds. There's a lot of good scripts out there. But if you're able to if you're going to dedicate the time to that, it has to be something you're going to do consistency and long term. So if you're not willing, or if you want to grow other avenues first, I wouldn't, suggest like trying to like add so many different buckets. Like I'm going to call FSBOs and expireds. I'm going to call my database. I'm going to call, my open house leads. That's a lot. So start with one, build really good cadence with that, and then, start adding those extra pillars.
Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Thank you for letting me interrupt for a second. I've got something really, really important to talk about. You know how last year we kept talking about that mastermind? What is the mastermind? What are we talking about with that mastermind? Last May, there was like 60 or 70 people of you listeners that had never met, flew out to Austin, Texas. We all hung out at this awesome event center and we spent a couple days with some great guest speakers talking about skills and strategies to succeed in real estate. And then we had these mastermind tables where everyone rotated, everyone got to meet everybody, everyone got to provide value. Some of the agents there had only done 1 or 2 deals ever. Some of the agents there had done hundreds of deals, and they all got to interact and help each other build their business and build their strategies. And I've heard so many stories of friendships that came from that, of referrals that have come from that. There were 6 or 7 people at that one that heard me talk about doing an Ironman, and we all did an Ironman together in North Carolina last month, and we had never even met before the podcast live. So it's been such a cool experience. I would love it for you guys to come. Days March 6th through 8th. Sign-ups right now. Go to hibandigital.com/mastermind. We also have a room block set up. It's 3 days, downtown Austin. Great, really cool hotel, really cool convention center that we're going to be hosting it. And we're going to get a chance I can't wait to meet you guys. I can't wait for you to meet other listeners. I can't wait for you to develop these new interactions. And really what we're teaching, last year it was like, how do you make a business better? But the market was just starting to turn, and I was trying to give some people some advice of what to do when it was happening. Now it has turned. And this time we're going to be talking so much about how to pivot and what to do next. So again, I hope you sign up for the mastermind. Sorry for such the long advertisement, but I can't wait to meet you. hibandigital.com/mastermind.
Yeah. What's something you wish you would have known when you first got started in real estate that you know now?
How important coaching and masterminding is. I was it wasn't as popular back then, but I was kind of an island. I was like kind of a lone wolf. I had like an assistant, but, I wasn't putting myself in rooms where I was the dumb person, and when I got into coaching, 2008 was like my first year in coaching, real REO coaching. But I saw that collaboration was so like mission critical. I wouldn't have been able to do what I did in the REO space had it not been for that mastermind group. So yeah, absolutely. And, as I've grown, I've evolved it to like find even better masterminds. And having a coach, and, I have a therapist, I have a life coach, it's like having a coach for your business. It's just so important to have that tribe.
Yeah. Having guidance from people. And the cool thing about masterminds too, is there's like, there's coaches, there's paid coaches, then there's like mentors. And then there's also like peers that are in the same space. We have the Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind is in 2 months. It's March 6th through 8th in Austin, where agents come from all over the US. And at least, 3/4 of the people that showed up last year, they'd never been to a mastermind before. This was their first time of actually getting to sit with their peers. And it's a really cool experience. And the first mastermind I joined in 2015, when I joined GoBundance, it helped me take my business to the next level, because I finally had some peers to talk to that I could get advice from and say, hey, this is working really well in my business, but this I'm struggling with. And they go, oh yeah, I've done that before. This is how I solved that. And it's having a paid coach is great, because they, if you're paying somebody, you're going to reach out more often. You're going to make sure you do this stuff. You're not going to have it be a waste of money, right? And they're going to be very specific to giving you guidance. And the benefit of a mastermind type environment is you get to help each other. And when you get to help each other, there's a different level of fulfillment too. So I'm a big fan of that, especially right now as we're still getting people to come sign up and come join us out in Austin. But we'll have a bunch of great speakers, but 3 days of it is really just interactive masterminding, where we've got, guides that come in and help us facilitate the mastermind. So tons of fun coming up that way. Now, how about when you think back to all the podcast episodes, do you have a favorite episode you listened to, or a favorite tip out there that when you heard it on the podcast, you actually started applying it in your business?
Gosh, it's hard to pick, because I know before we got on camera, we were talking about the one
the Tracy Tudor episode was a pretty funny one. Yes.
But it was kind of like, I don't know, the thing that stands out about me is like knowing your numbers. It's like when somebody didn't, but how important it is to know your numbers. So knowing what your, cost per lead is, knowing, how many contacts your team's making on a day, knowing, what your goals are, for baseline, midline, dreamline. And so, even just as we get in depth in coaching, like knowing your costs and, so efficiently in that finance department, I think real estate agents are really good at 3% commissions, but not good at knowing what profit margins are. So, but yeah, knowing your numbers has been one of the big things that has definitely stood out to me, and hearing that thread a lot through, many of your guests that are successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And Traction is really good for that too, right? You talked about having EOS as an operating system, as from the book Traction, but EOS is the operating system where it's all about, goals. And so as you're thinking about that right now, like you guys have just determined what your 2023 goals are, like, could you share some of those? So as a team, because you talked about like midline, top line, dream line, right? Like what are those, and if somebody has never done goals before, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm like looking just because I just wrote them down and they're not cemented into my head. And we actually kind of increased them. Based on, so we took a look at like where we're at, last year, where we're at this year with our agents. And we looked at our agents' goals and what they wanted to sell. So as we had the collective, like adding up of just all the agents currently on our team, what they want to sell. And they're not pie in the sky numbers, but some of them might not meet goal. But we rolled all those numbers up and compared where our goals were aligned with them. And luckily, if they hit all their goals, then we'll more than hit Dreamline. But for baseline, it's 408 homes sold, $268 million of volume, 800 in our referral network. Midline is 469 units, 308 million in volume, 1,000 in our network. Dreamline is 325 million, 500 units, and 1,300. So I feel that we set very realistic goals, especially based on how many agents we're recruiting every month, and we're on goal to be.
How many agents do you have on your team right now, your company?
We have 30.
You have 30. And how many agents do you hoping to have by the end of the year?
I think we should end at 50 with attrition.
Okay. So your goals are really like through the year. It's almost like 14 deals per year per agent, because some of those 50 you'll get near the end of the year. So your average agent, you're saying go get 15. Some of them will get 20 as you get to try to hit your 500 line. How does that compare to the year prior?
The year prior, we did 200 million, and we had a lot more attrition that year. So it's kind of a misleading number to say where you were at agent wise. Last year, our attrition, especially given the market, was pretty low, and we even added more to buffer for like being conservative attrition. They say like on the national average, a team attrition is 50%, and so most of we put a grit test at the beginning. It's 2 weeks of intense training, 3 hours a day. They have to do activities, homework. And if they don't pass go, they don't, go on our team. So just that process alone weeds out a lot of agents that would have otherwise just shown up to our team, wasted our time, and was not really committed to what our team's about.
Dude, I love that idea of a boot camp. That's like, you're saying, hey, come work with us. But to come work with us, you have to join the boot camp. But what are you offering that makes people go, hey, I want to come join your team, and I'm willing to go through a boot camp to prove myself? Because right now, sometimes people are struggling to recruit. And so as soon as somebody says, I want to come join your team, sometimes I think there's some people out there that are like, phew, all right, great. They came to join the team. So now they're in. So I don't want to trouble. I don't want to cause any trouble. So what are you doing where people want to join you so badly that they're all about jumping into that boot camp?
Well, it's all about how you position it. It's like, oh, you got to come to some training. Well, yeah, no one's probably going to want to come to that. But when we tell them what it's about increasing your conversion, having a plan, goal setting, time blocking, learning how to nail the buyer appointments, nail the seller appointments. I mean, so many experienced agents I know don't have a system for it. Every appointment looks a little different. So there's no, this would be thousands of dollars if I were to charge you for it. And we're always updating it. And you're learning from people that are selling 200-300 homes, not a broker that sold home 20 years ago. So it's the value proposition in itself. If what other 6-figure income can you make and not have to show up to work? I don't know. I've never heard of that job. So if you're really committed, and we tell people our team is not for the faint of heart. If you're not fully committed to, grow a real estate career long term, and you're not willing to be team oriented and show up. We have meetings pretty much almost every day in the week. If you're not willing to plug in at this level, that's fine. But that's just not for us. If you want to kind of do this part time while you're trying to launch your baking business, it's probably not for you. And then we do have, as far as our value proposition, detailed out. We detail out in our presentation why you would not want to join our team. I support the training, the coaching, leads. We kind of have a princess package. I like to think of it as far as team goes. And, our mission is to just have that world-class agent and client experience. So. Yeah.
I have a lot of people that reach out to me. They're trying to grow their teams right now. And it seems like the biggest thing that they're struggling with, or the biggest question they ask, is what should my splits be? What should I offer? I'm not offering enough. They got these people offering stock options. They have these people with caps, these people with other sorts of things. And they're also getting a lot of pushback back and forth with their teams. I mean, people are just, no matter what, always looking at numbers and always looking at what's in it for me and the pay. And so I can see how that's a difficult conversation, but what do you think the best combination for splits is? How do you present it? Anybody out there that's getting advice when they're literally calling, going hey, what splits should I do? Because I want to recruit and be competitive. And everyone's saying, well, if I join this company, I get stocks, or if I join this company, I get a cap. What do you tell them?
There's like when I started real estate in 2003, like teams were not very common. Now they're so common that you could have like one independent transaction coordinator in your CAT and call it a team. So like I hear all the time that, oh yeah, this team's at 90% splits. I know a team that you can join today for $500 a month. He doesn't offer you anything and you don't get anything, but it's only $500 a month. So when you're like have the mindset of like, yeah, we don't have the lowest splits and down because we offer, the full gambit. Maybe you don't want to offer the full gambit and you tailor your comp plan to meet that. But, there's no like right or wrong way, but I see too many team leaders just giving away too much and not expecting much in return.
Yeah. And what you mean by that, you're saying like team leaders are either giving away too much value or too much training without keeping enough of the commission share. Yeah. Right. It's like they want to get a lot more agents, but they're going to have the agents keep 90% of the split, 90-10 or something like that. And you're saying they're giving too much.
With the core values of like, it's like, if you looked at listings, do you think you've gone on a listing that wanted you to discount their commission? Yeah. Like how many times have we been asked to discount our listing commission? Oh, well, I know this agent that, does it for $500. So if you have that mentality of a discount, like seller, you're going to have a discount team, so if you like come with, well, yeah, I'm providing a lot of value, for like an agent to provide, have all the systems and everything that we offer, we've done the math. It would be like $168,000 a year if they were to run. And we're getting so many agents on our team now that used to run teams or used to run even brokerages, but they appreciate not having to carry those expenses that a team does. So, there's a lot like better like talent agent right now for agents that want to grow. Yeah,
I really like that. So you just had a book come out. So tell me about the book.
Yeah. So I had a real estate broker once tell me like, I was like a book nerd when I've always been a book nerd. And I said, I want to write a book. And he's like, shut up or write the book. So I wrote the book, but It's called The Renaissance Real Estate Agent, How to Unleash the Art of Systems in Your Real Estate Business. And I explain how we are in the Renaissance, how we are in a Renaissance right now in the real estate industry. What a Renaissance real estate agent is, which is like mastering the foundations and then also innovation. And there's systems to everything, both personally, professionally. It's really living your life by those systems and, even spiritual system.
Yeah. Very cool. So in your book, you talk about the systems. I mean, that's even what we talked about a little bit earlier on in the call, right? Is like putting getting your CRM, getting the stuff in the database, having it fall when technology can talk to technology. How many steps are you saving? So I bet there's a lot of stuff in that. So the best way for people to find the book's on Amazon, right?
Yes. The Renaissance Real Estate Agent.
And then any final thoughts of just any message or anything you want to share with agents that are out there right now?
There's so much that you can get into, but, one thing that I've really loved, as I've grown in this business is, they say the average person stops dreaming after they're 30. And when we think back, like when we were kids, like how big our dreams were, and we're like, oh yeah, I wanted to be president of the United States. And, when you're able to dream and you have, people around you that believe in that vision and have those dreams too, that, the bigger you think, the easier it gets and the more exciting it gets, more fun it gets. So, don't stop short of your big dreams that you've had for yourself. Go back to when you were a kid, think about that and, re-envision, a future that, might be so much bigger. It scares you.
Yeah. I love that. Go back to dreaming. And then if people want to reach out, they want to ask you questions about your systems or they've got deals in Scottsdale they want to talk about, what's the best way for them to find you?
I'm on Instagram and I always check my messages. And so if you just Jennifer Wehner, Wehner, I know it looks like Wiener, but it's Wehner. So Jennifer Wehner on Instagram.
Jennifer Wehner on Instagram. We'll definitely connect on there. That's always my favorite way to get to chat with people too. The Instagram is a really fun way. We've got mine's at Aaron Amuchastegui. There's only one Aaron Amuchastegui out there, or at RE Rockstars for our podcast one. Jennifer, this was an awesome episode. I think it's really, really great. You've been an agent for a long time, and now you've seen a couple cycles, and you're in one of those places in Scottsdale that kind of sets the precedent that shows, that stuff has been slowing down, but you're in a happy, good mood. You guys have pivoted. Your team is moving forward and trying to go figure out how to make deals happen. I didn't hear you complain about the supply or interest rates or things like that, just saying, hey, it's challenging. And so we're being a lot more targeted in our goals and our processes. So I really like that. So Jennifer, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being a listener.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks for listening.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronmuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.